false alarm. She's not ready. Oh. Alright. Stop this. Oh, I wasn't even recording. Okay. Alright, so I understand. I mean, all of this is only hard to understand if you're like, life is the only way. I mean, it is literally the only way. But there's also stopping. There's also non-weighing. Alright, so what could I change in my operation or interpretation? So, if I change my operation, not super concretely, but change in operation means change in people's reactions. And change in non-social situations, different kind. Oh, what am I writing? I don't even feel drunk, but I must be because I can't even write the word interactions. I haven't eaten today, so I think I just feel lightheaded. All right. By the way, this different kind of non-social, I didn't mean interactions, I meant situations. That can be achieved by living outside, by sort of avoiding people. So if I change operation, so operational change, distance from humans, and that does, as we know, fit with sort of a future that doesn't make me feel dread. Distance from humans and independence of humans. I don't even need doctors, bruh. Well, I guess I'll want a doctor if I'm out there and happy, but I don't think I'll feel entitled to one, so I'll be all right. So that's obviously one option, and we already know that makes the future look brighter, and we've made that change. Obviously, we no longer are gonna work a job or work a job. No longer in a city. Did a tent for 2.5 years, in here for 1.5 years. So we're looking at 4 years of. Why didn't I celebrate that? That was 4 days ago, bro. 4 days ago since giving up my apartment. So that's great. And I can do more of that. Go get lost in the wilderness. Obviously, mom's gonna say, no, dangerous. And dad's gonna say, money? Okay, but still an option. What can I change about my interpretation? Okay, technically speaking, or not technically, but in generally speaking, so I could feel differently about misinterpretations, about other people's misinterpretations. And, and I'm pretty good with that already. I have, over the last several years, learned to love myself despite other people's interpretations. And again, some of my language is inaccurate because it's really the interpretations that I clung on to, and that I probably exaggerated a bit in my mind. But they are real enough where romantic, professional, consequences, like having to leave a job because, just wasn't getting along with people. I'm not out there yelling at anybody. It's just that people are like, yeah. So I wasn't even fired because couldn't fire me. Didn't want to. In fact, they just wanted to, they were going to continue, but I was like, yo, but how about I cut you a break? let's do a conventional rupture, which is what it's called when you don't quit and when you're not fired. It's the two parties agree to go their separate ways. And he was like, all right, yeah, cool, let's do that. Because I mean, I had no record. There's nothing I had done wrong. There never is. It was just language barrier. Or like the one time I got fired from a job because they said it was lateness because I was late 4 times. But it was not even lateness to class. It was lateness to like the meeting before the class, which I did want to be on time for. But yeah, I have ADHD. And by the way, it was literally, like if you're running up and you're 30 seconds late, that's a late for you. So they said it was because of that. It was not because of that. It was because of this weird thing that happened with a special ed teacher, where I wanted to help a student out, and she came up with the idea of us switching students. And then they were like, oh, went behind the backs and you tried to convince her. And, what are you talking about? Weird stuff, bro. Like, either you believe me that there's weird stuff or you don't. And it's not really weird when you understand the mind and autism. Or not even understand, but just have a loose sense of it. Or some understanding. All right, so, okay, which is, humans are not rational, number 1. Number 2, morality and social codes are different things, but are conflated in the human brain. Because of thing number 1. Number 3, autistic spectrum people are a minority. There you go. Those 3 things, if you understand those 3 things. Oh, and then also the difference between neurotypicals and spectral people is that sort of the automatic determinations of right and wrong. Let's put it this way. You know, in my vocabulary, there's sing and shope. Things that feel right, sound right, seem right, those sing. Things that set off alarms, those shope. We have very different sings and shopes. So, for instance, frowning for a neurotypical is going to shope, even if it could be easily explained by intrigue or interest. Mixing your peas and your mashed potatoes could shope an autistic person. Eating the same thing every day shopes a neurotypical person. Changing your meals all the time could shope an autistic person. Talking a lot could shope a neurotypical person. And then maybe in a lot of cases, not talking is more likely to shope an autistic person. There are more cases where silence or not talking or timidness are going to shope and make uncomfortable an autistic person than a neurotypical person, perhaps. Is that true? I don't know. Like, literally, we're all healthy. Neurotypicals and autistic. I mean, high-functioning autistics. I don't even know. I mean, maybe we're going to find out in the future that, they're just not at all the same thing. Whatever's going on with me and the guy who can't bathe himself, not at all the same thing, maybe. I don't know. Then again, I can't really bathe myself. I mean, I can. I just don't. I just can't. Oh, I gotta get undressed. Gotta go in the water. Anyway. So that shopes me. Whereas, anyway. So you get it. But we're high-functioning autistic people and neurotypical people. We're equally healthy. I don't see how, it's not like morality doesn't work among autistics, like emotions don't work, like communication doesn't work. It all works. It just works differently. Um, so I gave a couple examples from the communication. Yeah, and then emotional expression. Also, autistics, maybe. I don't really know enough about any autistic people, but, I imagine that I better understand sort of emotionally what's happening there, like, certain frustrations or getting hyper fixated on something or, needing something resolved, not being able to move on without it, whatever. And I would be able to have, sympathy with that. Neurotypicals don't need my sympathy for that. They're moving on